For making the feathers of the peacock, you're going to need a dark blue, a light purple, a pink, preferably a lighter pink, and a mint. I mean, you can use whatever colors you want, but for this pattern, these are the colors I used. I'm going to start with the dark blue. And this is where you will make your magic ring, or if you don't like the magic ring, you can do the chain 2 method. Make a slip stitch, and then chain 2, and then just work into that first chain like you would a magic ring. Do 6 single crochets. And then you just pull that tight, just like a magic ring. With chenille yarn, it can be kind of tricky because the yarn likes to separate the little fuzzy fibers. And then that is all for the blue. So count back, find your first stitch. I like to, when doing this method, the chain 2 method, do an extra single crochet just back into that first one to do my color change, just so it looks a little bit cleaner and kind of brings it all together. So here you're going to color change to pink. You only need a very small amount of the dark blue for this. So here we will change to pink. And in the back loops only, we're going to do 6 increases. And this is our last one. Okay, so that leaves us with a total of 12 of the pink stitches. And just to make it a little bit more secure, I'm going to go ahead and do 1 extra single crochet just into my next pink stitch. From here, we're going to chain 16. Okay. And at this point, we're going to crochet doing single crochets back down through our chain, starting in the second stitch from the hook. So there's our one on the hook, and then the second one from the hook. We'll start here. We'll do a single crochet. And I find it helpful at this point to add stitch markers to both sides. So go in the chain and in the single crochet stitch, so that way I know where my end is on both sides. So we're going to do 15 single crochets back up our chain. So that was 1, 13, 14, and 15. Okay. So once you have all 15, Then your final step with the pink is just going to be to slip stitch back into that same stitch that you ended on before you did the chain, just to kind of connect it all together. And then you can go ahead and cut the yarn. I'm going to cut my blue too, since I didn't cut that before. And then just pull it out, make it tight. So then this makes the start of our peacock feather. The next color you're going to need is your mint. So to start with your mint, you're going to make a slip knot. Get that on your hook, and then I like to start on this side, but realistically it doesn't matter which side you start on. You just have to remember that the purple is going to be up top around the circle, and the first two chain and slip stitch or single crochets up here, and the mint is going to be around all this bottom part. So if you start here on this side and go around the bottom first with the mint, it saves you a little bit more color change time than if you were to start on like this side and start at the bottom and go up and then have to change to purple, go around and change back to mint and go back down. It just makes it a little bit easier. So I'm going to go down, I'm going to count down 3 chain spaces and find my third one, and that's going to be the one I'm going to start working in. So I'm just going to go into that, make a slip stitch, chain 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and slip stitch right back into that same space. And then I'm going to do that to the next one. These chain spaces can be a little tricky. And then slip stitch right back into it. And so then I'm going to repeat that down all the way down this side until I get to this very last stitch, the one that I have marked. And then this very last one, I'm going to do 3 single crochets and do 3 single crochets in the other one as well, and then go back up this side. So we have 15 total, and we're doing 3 single crochets in the last one and skipping 2 on top. So then that leaves us with only 12 of these. So you should have 12 of the mint little ruffles on each side. Okay, I am almost to my last stitch here. So I have 10 of these little ruffles so far, so I should be doing 2 more, but chain stitches can be really tight and difficult to work with. So if you are like me and you have really tight stitches and are struggling to get into them, having only 11 is okay. It's not going to really change the look of the feather. The other side you will end up having 12 because the single crochet stitches are a lot easier to work with. But for this side to have 11, it's not going to make it look weird or anything like that. So there is my 11 little mint green ruffles. Now in my final one here, I'm going to take out my stitch marker and I'm going to do 3 single crochets. And then I'll go into my next one with the stitch marker, which is the first single crochet of the other side, and do another 3 single crochets. And these 6 single crochets give us a nice rounded edge that makes sewing it to the body a little bit easier. And then from here you'll just continue the same ruffle pattern up the top, and you'll do this 12 times, and then we'll switch to purple. So slip stitch, chain 8, and slip stitch back into the same one, and do that 12 times. Okay, now I am at the end of this side. I have one more to do. And then we are done with the mint. So now I'm going to cut the yarn and set that aside and just pull it through. Instead of doing a traditional color change where you would just kind of like interlink them, I prefer to just make a slip knot and start fresh with the purple. It makes things a little bit easier and more secure in my opinion. So just make a slip knot, tighten that up on your hook, and then just go right into your next single crochet space and do the same thing. Slip knot, chain 8, slip knot again, or slip stitch, my bad. And so then we'll do that 2 times on the chain. And then that will bring us up to the circle. Now sometimes, depending on your chain, your slip stitches, tension, stuff like that, you might seem like you have an extra stitch here. It's okay to do an extra one here if you want to. It's not gonna make it look weird or affect it very much. Sometimes they turn out that way, sometimes they don't. It also is optional to add an extra one in here just to give it a little extra fluffiness. And then you just go right into the back loop. Maybe. We want to do the back loops on the circle instead of doing the whole stitch. That way our pink will show through a little bit more. My slip stitches are being difficult today. And you'll just do that all the way around in just the back loops. So you'll have 12 around the circle, 2 in one side of the chain and 2 on the other side of the chain. And optionally, you can have an extra one here at the corners if you want to just give it a little extra fluffiness, or if it just looks like there's too big of a gap between your chain and your circle. Just whichever way you prefer to do it. It's going to look about the same for them in the end either way, so it's really just preference. Okay, I am on to my very last ruffle stitch. I'm going to do my slip stitch, chain 8, and slip stitch again. And then I'm just going to cut my yarn. Now at this point, it kind of looks like a mess. It definitely looks like a mess. So you're going to want to make sure you get all your tails untangled, make sure that it's facing the right way, and kind of just lay it flat and smooth it out a little bit. And something that I found that helps is to go through and just kind of stretch and pinch each of these ruffles a little bit. So like just kind of pinch them, stretch them and pinch them just a little bit to help them lay flat. But I also just have very tight tension, so that might just be a me problem. But if you are finding yourself having this same issue, just kind of stretch it out a little bit, smooth her down, stretch and pinch. there is our peacock feather. And for the pattern, you'll make 5 of these. Obviously, you can make more if you want to. It's just going to be a lot more sewing. And when you go to sew it, you'll just use your mint yarn and sew this bottom portion here to the body. Now, just a little extra tip for all these ends, because I know we have a lot of ends on this piece. I hate weaving in ends. I refuse to do it. If I don't have to, I'm not going to. So what I do, especially with chenille, so if you're using a different yarn, I don't know if this will work, but with chenille, I trim them down to about this long, and then I just pull off the fuzzies. Just pull off all these fuzzies. Sometimes they'll get stuck on the bottom, and that's okay. Don't try to pull it too hard if it gets stuck on the bottom, because sometimes you'll break it and then it doesn't really work. But so like this piece kind of got stuck on the bottom. I'm just going to leave it. But I've got 2 pretty bare pieces of string now, so I'm just going to tie them together like 3 or 4 times, and I'm going to make sure that they are really, really tight. Oh, see, now it wants to come off. And we'll just tie that really, really tight. And then you can get super close to the knot and just snip it off. And then it's almost like it's not even there. I mean, like, you can still see it if you're looking for it, but I also didn't snip it very close. But you can do that with all of them. So I'm going to do that with the pinks, and then like I'm going to do that to these 2 next to each other on both sides. That way all of my yarn tails will be woven in. They'll look like they're woven in, but in reality I'm just going to tear off the fluffies and tie them together. It just makes it go a lot faster and a lot less stressful trying to weave in ends, and I think it makes it more secure. But that is how you make your peacock feathers.